Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. My name is Chris Abbott, but all my friends just call me Abbo. And in this video, we're going to specifically be talking about how to advertise for church volunteers coming up. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. Now, I've been in ministry for about 20 years, and I've realized that one of the most challenging thing, right, for myself and for most churches is specifically how to advertise for church volunteers. So this video, we're going to be talking about kind of some of the things that I've learned over the past couple of decades about reaching out to new people, recruiting new volunteers, and kind of casting vision in order to be able to get them involved with the mission. So let's dive in. Now, a couple of years ago, I literally had a front row seat as my brother-in-law built one of the biggest middle school youth ministries in the entire country, right? So in just a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years, he literally went from 0 to 700 middle school kids, believe it or not, every single Wednesday night. Right? And so I literally got to watch it happen. I was his worship leader, so I was actually leading worship for the youth group. And I'm telling you, it was crazy, right? We're talking 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, right? Middle school kids. And we'd be rocking out here during worship, and you just see these kids just bouncing. I mean, it looked like an MTV video or something, right? Like just a concert, just kids jumping up and down and just going nuts for Jesus. I would watch kids who'd come in for the first time who weren't saved, who would just get caught up in the energy of everything, right? And be jumping and worshiping God. And then, 30 minutes later would end up answering the altar call and give their lives to Christ. It was incredible. We were growing so fast and things were just exploding, right? But how did he do that? I mean, middle school kids, right? 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, every single one of those kids needs a ride to church. So it's not like growing your church where if the people want to come, they probably can get a ride or they can probably drive themselves. It's a little bit tougher when you're talking middle school kids because every single one of them needs to convince their parents to drive them to church and drop them off. Now, the most important part and the way that I watched him do this is he actually focused on his leaders. Now, most people would actually start with the kids. You have to build a youth ministry from scratch, right? Specifically a middle school ministry, which is even harder, right? I don't know if you guys have ever tried to recruit volunteers for youth ministry, right? It's hard enough for youth ministry and for high school ministry. It is darn near impossible to recruit volunteers for a middle school ministry. But the way that he did it was brilliant. He literally just started sharing his why with people. He literally just started going out to people and asking them to pray about becoming a youth leader, right? But he wouldn't just say, hey, we're starting a middle school ministry. Do you want to be a part of it, right? Because not too many people are going to say yes to that, right? But instead he would come up and he'd just say, hey, Chris, can I talk to you for a second, bro? Man, listen, we're starting up a new middle school ministry. And man, I don't know about you, but like when I was growing up, man, middle school was a tough time for me, right? Like it was awkward enough trying to navigate girls and homework and all that kind of stuff. It's like, but, in middle school was the first time that, somebody offered me weed, and it was the first time I went to a party and there were drugs and alcohol, right? It was the time when all my friends started having sex with their girlfriends. And I was like, man, and it was such a crazy time. I just really have a heart for helping middle school kids. I mean, can you imagine like, what if we could actually prevent middle school kids from doing all that? Right? What if we could prevent 7th and 8th grade boys from being addicted to pornography when they're older because we reached them when they're in middle school? And he began to share his why with people. And then he would just ask and say, hey, man, would you just pray about maybe becoming a leader? Would you just pray about, maybe volunteering and kind of helping me build this thing over the next couple of months? And what happened is because he just continued to not only recruit leaders, but then build them, right? So when leaders came onto his team, he started treating them like family. He would have leaders over to his house all the time, right? Like if he was firing up the grill, it wasn't him and his family, it was him and his family and 25 of his closest leader friends. Like if he was gonna go bowling, he'd take 10 of his leaders with him. If he was going to a movie, he would have the entire row, or sometimes, not kidding, multiple rows in the movie theater of just JV leaders, right? Because he was constantly just hanging out with those leaders, pouring into them and building relationship. Because he poured into his volunteers poured into the kids. They had one of the fastest growing middle school ministries that I have ever seen. Okay, so point number 1 is ask. Right? It's a very overlooked thing, but just ask, right? Go out and talk to people, ask if they would be willing to volunteer, and then talk about some of the areas where you actually need volunteers in, right? So here's a couple of things to ask yourself, right, about asking volunteers. Does your website include a page or a section on your homepage where you talk about volunteer opportunities and some of the volunteers that you need right now? Do you regularly highlight volunteers and some of the volunteer activities on social media and on your website? Are you asking any of your current volunteers to invite some of their friends to come out to maybe kind of give it a test drive and try helping out in the parking lot ministry or being a greeter, right? Sometimes this is the best way, because if you have a greeter who's, has a bubbly personality and is really fun and outgoing, chances are she probably has 3 or 4 friends that are just like her. So have her reach out and ask if she knows anyone who would want to come out and be a greeter with her as well. And I guarantee you're going to have a couple of people who are going to bring tons and tons of brand new volunteers just because you decided to ask. All right, number 2, get specific. Right? This is a problem that a lot of churches make. In fact, I've made this mistake myself in the past, right? But don't just ask people to volunteer in the youth ministry, or don't just ask them to volunteer on the worship team or volunteer as a greeter or an usher, but ask them to do specific jobs. So one of the things that Chano did so well, right, is he was casting vision and kind of sharing his why with people, right? Well, he didn't know exactly what they needed in the youth ministry, but he invited them to become a part of keeping these kids and intercepting them before the drugs and alcohol and pornography and sex and everything else got to them, right? That was at least a little bit more specific. But maybe you need some volunteers to help with your kids check-in, right? So don't just ask them to volunteer in the kids ministry, ask them to volunteer in the kids check-in and ask if they'd be willing to help check in kids every single week, right? Or if you need a new acoustic guitarist, right? Don't just say, hey, we need band members, ask for an acoustic guitarist. Or if you need greeters, maybe specifically say, hey, we need someone to help greet at the front door every single Sunday morning, right? So if you're bubbly and you're smiley, we just need someone to hold the door open and be kind of the first interaction that people have with our church, right? Just high-fiving, shaking hands, and greeting people with a warm greeting when we first show up, right? Being specific about it is going to attract the right type of people, and people are going to be much more open to volunteering since they know exactly what it is they're volunteering for. All right, number 3, focus on their benefits, not your needs. Okay, this is huge in the church world, but you know this from being in ministry, right? People don't give to need, people give to vision. Right? That's why if you ever get up there during your offering and you talk about how you're just not making your budget, and if people don't give, then you're not going to be able to pay the light bill, or we might have to start cutting some ministries. That could work temporarily, but that's not going to work in the long term, right? Some people might give, but a lot of times people even give reluctantly to that. It's like, well, I guess we don't have to close the doors. I want to find a new church, or shoot, I don't want us to have to, cut some of the ministries, right? But if you cast vision, people will give to that in a heartbeat, right? Like if you come in and just say, hey, here's the deal. We're helping out with an overseas mission, and for every $10 that we spend, we can smuggle a Bible into a third world country where the gospel is hostile and people don't have Bibles. So man, how many Bibles would you and your family be willing to smuggle into Iraq? Man, all of a sudden, these people that weren't giving to the need, now they're giving to vision. You put a little vision in front of them, and man, all of a sudden they're gonna come, hey, you know what? We could, as a family, we could give an extra $100 a month and smuggle 10 Bibles into a hostile nation, right? You'll have people stepping up going $200, $500, $1,000 because they wanna be able to make a difference, and they're giving to vision, not need. And so it's the same thing when you're asking for volunteers, right? Start focusing on the benefits to them, right? Not the needs of your church. And the benefits might be as simple as, hey, like, man, do you want to wake up in the morning and know that you're making a difference, right? Do you want to help find your purpose? Do you want to help teenagers find their calling and avoid the pitfalls of drugs, sex, alcohol, pornography? Man, volunteer in the youth group. Come help us be a part of the change that this world needs to see. That kind of vision is going to help people. And now you're talking to the benefits to them, right? You're not talking about what you need. You're talking about how they're going to benefit and how it's going to change their lives whenever they start to volunteer. Here are a couple of examples of ways that you can communicate that when you're recruiting church volunteers. You can talk about people using their skills and talents for good, mentoring the next generation, meeting new people in the community, welcoming new families to your church, working for a cause they believe in, and helping others. All right, so before I get to my last couple of points, I want to hear from you. What are some ways that you have cast vision and recruited new volunteers inside of your church, right? Post in the comments below. I promise to read every single one, right? If there's some things that I missed in this video, let me know. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what you're doing in order to recruit new volunteers. All right, number 4, make it easy. Now, I think this is often overlooked in our church, but have you tried to sign up to be a volunteer in your church? Right? Have you gone onto your website and actually gone through the process and signed up? Is it easy? Is it simple to understand? Is it intuitive, right? Could a 5-year-old do it? You want to lower the barrier of entry by making it super easy and simple for someone to sign up to volunteer in your church. Are there clear steps to take on social media and on your church website and in your church? Are the people that you encounter as you're trying to sign up or get more information about volunteering friendly and helpful, right? These are all things that you should ask about your church and that you should specifically look at when you're trying to recruit new volunteers. All right, number 5, create different levels of opportunity. Now, this is different for every single person in every single church, but think about it. So when I first started volunteering in our youth group, I was 21 years old. I was going to college and I had a lot of extra time. So obviously I was going to class and doing homework, but I had a lot of free time. And my free time, I spent at church and I spent it hanging out with a bunch of youth kids. So for me, I didn't mind volunteering at the church. I didn't mind it being like basically a part-time job. I loved it. I was passionate about it. I was excited about it. But the season of life that I'm in now, where I've got a wife and I've got young kids, if I was gonna go back and volunteer in the youth ministry now, I don't have nearly the amount of time that I did back then, right? So it'd be hard for me to sign up to go be a youth leader knowing what I used to do back then. So create different levels of opportunity or engagement for people inside of your church. Maybe just offer the ability to volunteer in an area for 90 days or for 6 months. Or maybe you have some people that are helping with kids check-in, but then you have other people that are kids leaders that are gonna be back there every single Sunday. Or maybe offer the opportunity to help out in a ministry once a month. That way people aren't missing church every single Sunday to volunteer in the kids ministry. They're only doing it once a month, and the other 3 Sundays, they get to sit with their spouse in service. All right, so this is just, again, a great way to lower the barrier of entry and create a way to make it easy for people to take the next step and start serving in your church. All right, and lastly, remember that recruitment is just the first step. Once somebody decides to start serving and they join a serve team, they become a volunteer at your church, right? Make sure that you're checking in with them regularly and make sure that you have people that are in that area that are kind of taking them under their wing. One of the reasons that I lasted for 15 years in youth ministry is because on the very first night when I was volunteering, feeling super awkward, I felt like a fish out of water. I started experiencing imposter syndrome and feeling like I didn't belong there, right? And I just wanted to hit the eject button and I couldn't wait for the night to be over so I could just make an excuse why not to come back the next Sunday, right? And I was feeling awkward. And literally my now brother-in-law, Chano, came up to me and just said, hey man, hang with me tonight. You'll come to the youth group with me or whatever. Just hang with me. I'll introduce you to a bunch of kids. They're going to love you, right? And it was literally like, that was the thing that ended up saving me and keeping me. I went on to be in youth ministry for 15 years after that. But I'm telling you, I was ready to hit the eject button and run after the first night because I felt so awkward, right? But just because he came up, he wasn't the youth pastor. He was just another youth leader volunteer like me, but he took me under his wing and just said, yep, hey, you're part of my small group now. We're going to mentor all of the junior and senior high school guys. And we started doing everything together and literally it changed my life. But it was all because one guy took me under his wing, checked in with me every single week, and eventually I married his wife's little sister. So now we're family. So make sure that you're checking in. Getting them on the team isn't the first part. You also want to do some onboarding, make sure to check in with them, or better yet, have somebody on that team who's checking in with them regularly, taking them under their wing and kind of showing them the ropes. You'll have people stay a lot longer on that serve team if you can do that. All right, so I have a free gift for you if you want to learn a little bit more about how to use social media, either to recruit new volunteers or to attract new visitors to your church on Sunday morning. Head over to churchgrowthagency.com or simply click on the link in the description below. We have a free training video for you, and if you want, we'll even jump on a free strategy call to talk about what this would look like at your church. We'll see you soon.